G'day, legends. It's Jai, that Aussie Metal Guy, here with Crannk.com. Tonight, I'm joined by one of punk rock's most infamous, unpredictable, and still absolutely on point voices, Mr. Blag Dahlia of Dwarves. Dwarves are one of those bands that have never really sat comfortably in one box. Punk, hardcore, garage rock, dirty pop, shock rock, heavy music, chaos mythology, hooks, filth, and somehow after all these years, still a band that can kick the door in and leave people wondering what the hell just happened. Now in 2026, Dwarves are back with JENKEM out June 5th through Greedy Records, distributed by MVD, pardon me. It's short, sharp, filthy, and violent, and all the right ways, tapping back into that raw early Dwarves energy while still carrying those hooks and attitude that have always made this band just more than just the reputation around it. So, Blag, mate, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on board. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Wow, that was a great intro. I like us now.
Oh no, dude, believe me, I've had so many bands going, dude, we're taking you on fucking tour. You can just come out, do your intro, and we're fucking ready to rock. No, Black, I always love starting these longer conversations by going right back to the beginning. What is your earliest core musical memory? Not necessarily the first record you bought, but that first moment where music really hit you and made you feel something.
Wow, I remember my seventh birthday, my brother got me a single. It was Stevie Wonder, "Living for the City." And I mean, to this day, I hear Stevie Wonder and it just brings me right back to my youth. And that record meant so much to me, and it just started like a lifetime of like checking out records and being fascinated by what was going on. And then, of course, I started going to shows and stuff. I think one of the first ones I ever saw was Angelic Upstarts. I must have been like 14, and I saw Frank Zappa when I was 14, and I saw, just a lot of the early punk bands that people would be really stoked to see. Like I saw Minor Threat on their first tour, and I saw, Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, on and on. I saw Spinal Tap when the movie came out. Saw the band live, I mean. So, I've just taken part in some great shows, and but yeah, listening to records was always big for me.
Yeah, I love records, and I'm Stevie Wonder. What a fucking songwriter. Dead Kennedy's Jello, mate. It all makes bloody sense now with you guys. Was there a moment? Tell me about the moment when it stopped being something you were listening to and something you really wanted to be involved in, something you wanted to create.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being like maybe 7, 8, 9 years old and pretending I was singing Crocodile Rock, to the girls in my class. I would always I really never wanted to do anything else except be on stage and sing and do music. And I wasn't that great at it. And that's why I love punk rock so much, and why I love, because like trying out for the play, I didn't get a part, and trying out for the band, I didn't get this and that. Like it was rock and roll taught me like, no, do it yourself. And I had very sophisticated tastes in music. I was really into Zappa, and I was into jazz records, John Coltrane and Roland Kirk, and into musicals and all kinds of stuff that was not that I wasn't really talented enough to do. And then I heard the Ramones, and it just changed my life. It was like, wait a minute, I can do this, I can play this, I can sing this, I can think about this. This makes sense to me. And the simplicity and beauty of it was so important. And that was when I knew, like, oh, okay, I can do this. I knew I always wanted to do it, but it was when like the Ramones, and I kind of made the connection. And from then on, it was like, whoa, I can do this, and I can make my own band. I don't have to try out. And I can do it with my friends, and we can. So yeah, that was big.
Yeah, what time you grew up around Chicago, didn't you? Was that where you grew up?
Yeah, I went to my early shows in Chicago. I
Yep.
played my first show at the Cubby Bear Lounge in 1983. And yeah, the Dwarves were from a suburb called Highland Park. And yeah, man, I mean, it was Chicago was definitely like it wasn't like everybody was patting you on the back to play in a rock band.
Yeah, yeah,
It was more like
dude.
a bunch of assholes going, "Get a job, you know,
Yeah.
get the fuck out of here. You think your shit don't stink, whatever the fuck it was." So you had to kind of fight to get anything.
Yeah.
And I think that was a good way to come up because it kind of taught me nobody gives you anything.
Well, it's
You know,
kind of still the same in punk music, isn't it? And fucking heavy metal.
well,
Nobody,
like
in some
I've
sense.
lived. Yes, absolutely. And it always will be. But it's like I live in California. I've lived here for 40 years, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys that aren't very talented that, all went to high school together, and all of a sudden they're in these big punk bands, and you're like, you suck. Like, why has everybody been kissing your ass for 30 years?
Yeah.
Hey, man, California, it's like whatever the fuck. So, yeah, I think coming from Illinois really gave me the sense of like nobody gives you anything,
Grounded
nobody
you.
gives a fuck, and whatever you get, you're gonna fight for and work for, and that's it. Um, you
That's very
know,
grounding, though, isn't it? When you got
yeah.
to work hard and fight for everything, it kind of fucking grounds you in reality a little bit, so you're not overwhelmed with
Yeah,
all
I
the other
think in the long
bullshit.
run, it helps you. Most of the people I knew who were like got their asses kissed by the music
Yeah,
industry got very let down a few years later when the industry moved on. Some of them have lucked out for life, which is always fascinating to me. But yeah, for most of them, it's like, things kind of fall apart.
yeah,
So it's good. Like, I feel like it's especially helped me now
yeah.
40 years later, more than 40 years later, after getting into music, is that, having never expected anybody to do anything, it's like it
Exactly. So
worked
when
out
you,
well.
oh, little
Where's my
kitty, mine
cat?
will be, mine's just over here sleeping on the couch as well, dude. Don't you worry, she's overseeing
Gotta
things.
have a cat
Oh, yeah, I've got a cat there
or
and a bird
two.
over here, dude. So when you think back to that first musical spark and then look at everything the Dwarves became, tell me a little bit about how you feel. Did you see, does that feel like it kind of went in a straight line to you, or did Dwarves become something even you couldn't fully control or foresee
Oh,
what
yeah.
was coming? Yeah.
Well, again, I think having a real sense of what you can do and what you can do is helpful because at first I figured out I can do this and I did it and it was very simple and from the gut and a lot of people responded to it. And what that allowed me to do was, as the years went on, make more and more complex and evolved records because other people who felt my kind of gut level thing, who could play an amazing drum part or be a great producer or play a great bass part, came in and were attracted to what I was doing. And so, yeah, like paradoxically, realizing that I couldn't do complex stuff allowed me to get to a place where I could do complex stuff through other people, through using people as everything from, recording engineers and producers to musicians. And I kind of, it was like they were basically gravitating to my lyrics and my attitude.
Yeah.
My lyrics were funny and my attitude was everybody can kiss my ass. I'm going to make a great record that I like. And if you think it's too commercial, then fuck you. And if you think it's too punk, fuck you. And whatever, I'm just going to do what I'm doing. So that, yeah, I mean, that I never could have predicted the evolution or that I would wind up making the kinds of records that I'm like, wow, this is really sounds good, or oh, this is pretty well written, or oh, this is pretty well played. Like I wasn't like some super talented music genius guy. It was just the opposite. And so it kind of taught me what my limitations were. And I was able to overcome everything and make the records that I love, and a lot of variation, a lot of different kinds of records.
Exactly. And Dwarves, like, as I kind of mentioned in the intro, never fit straight into that box. You were a punk band that were just doing, you had your punk bangers, but you're always doing different stuff as well, kind of what sounded right. You didn't want to sit yourself neatly into this, oh, I'm just another punk band. You know, it's like we're a punk band, but we're doing fucking other shit. Well, some of that shit is like rocking as fuck, dude, then heavy, then dark. And yeah, I just love the way you approach the songwriting for it, man. Even from the start, you were like, yeah, let's fucking just do what feels right for me.
Yeah, I mean, I always got the sense like it was funny because when the band first got some attention in the late '80s, early '90s, the standard question for me was like, "Well, you're just trying to shock people, right? I mean, you say fuck in your song, and you got these naked women on your cover, and you're trying to shock people." And it was like, I wasn't naive. I knew that it was shocking people, but my response is like, it's the other people you should be talking to.
Yeah.
I just communicate what's in my brain. It's other people who censor themselves before they even start because they're afraid that it won't fly or it won't go commercially or it won't let them on the radio or it'll make their spouse upset or it'll make their parents upset or whatever their thing is. And it's like, I wasn't trying to shock people and my friends weren't trying to shock people. We just didn't censor ourselves. We were like, this is what we have to say and we're going to say it regardless of what kind of a problem you have with it. And then eventually that came to be music too. It's like I liked hip hop records, so I made some things with a hip hop thing, and people were like, what are you trying to do? Like we like you as a punk band. Like, why would you do this? And it's like, because I don't care, because I like hip hop music, so I'm going
Now
to do
cunts are
that.
chucking hip hop into
Do
everything.
whatever I want. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, and that's really punk rock's essence, I think, is just freedom to do whatever you want, and I feel really fortunate that I got to do what I wanted and then was able to kind of pull it off.
It's funny, like the controversy at the time that like punk bands and metal bands, like with covers like yours, some of your covers and a lot of the metal covers and Cannibal Corpse and covers of that ilk, everyone was like, God, oh, this is so shocking, complaining about it. But you switch on the news at 5 o'clock and you see this shit happening that the mainstream society kind of just sits by and doesn't do anything and is complicit to, watching these corporations like destroy villages in Africa and fucking wars all over the place, and no
Right,
cunt's
right.
going, that's shocking. I always thought the punk bands especially were talking about these themes. Yeah, we had these shocking covers and yeah, we had these controversial songs, but there's always like some sort of fucking message to it, a point to it as well. Yeah, and people were more worried about these songs and the covers and these albums and not the real shit they should be worrying about. And society is still fucking doing it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard too because like I'm watching the news and engaged with things and engaged with the world around me, but the dwarves kind of exist in their own nether region of like we don't pay attention to that. I'm not going to get pulled into your political thing in my song. I'm not
Yeah.
going to get pulled into your virtue signaling in my thing.
Yep.
I'm just going to do what I'm doing and exist in my own realm, because as soon as you start, like some people love bands specifically for engaging with what's going on
Yeah.
right now. That's what they want out of them. But I think what people want with a band like the Dwarves is more like this idea that we're pure and we
Yes.
don't compromise with like whatever I think about the political situation, I'm not going to put that in my song
It's
because that would
fun.
that would cheapen it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's a fun album. Like as I said, I was rocking out to you guys this morning, like first thing, dude. And I biggest
Yeah.
smile on my face and like rocking out. I'm like, this is some fucking cool shit to wake up to. And like listening to your whole catalog, you kind of get that as well. It's just fun to listen to, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad, I mean, I didn't get into rock and roll to cry. I really, and it's funny because the first time people really got engaged with the Doors was right around that grunge era. And I
Yeah.
felt so out of place. It was like, I'm having fun. And it was always like, this guy next to me who's crying is like really cute and girls love him and he's got a big record deal and a lot of money. Like, what the fuck are you crying about? Like, I should be crying. We're working
Yeah.
some shitty day job and we're a punk band and we got thrown out of the club. It's like, why am I? able to be happy and you're miserable.
I know.
And them being miserable was almost part of the commercial success of the records, like people like that was what the company was paying them to do was like be miserable for
Yeah,
your
be
fans,
miserable.
you know?
Yeah, dude. It was a
And
fun
it
time.
was just like shit.
Do you feel with the Dwarves, you guys, as we mentioned, kind of started around Chicago and then shift into San Francisco, and we kind of mentioned about you kind of being Illinois and coming out up the way you did. Do you feel like that outsider position kind of shaped the attitude of Dwarves early
Oh
on, where you
yeah.
were like, yeah, yeah, dude.
Yeah, it never changes. You're
Yeah,
always kind of an outsider. Some people are very good at kind of getting the trust of people and getting the trust of the scene and having people see them as representative. And I think that's a talent. It's just not a talent that I have or that my friends really had. That whole thing of getting people to feel like you're the band of the moment or you're the band that sums up their life. I think the Dwarves was always more like, that's weird. What the fuck is that? It wasn't like, hey, that whole like Fat Records, like we're wearing the same shorts you're wearing. And it didn't, that wasn't us. I mean, it was like we were just obviously not coming from your same thing.
yeah, and did not fitting into that punk garage or hardcore scene become a strength? Obviously, it did to where you are today.
Yeah, I'd like to
Anyway,
think so. And there's something to be said for capturing a moment. Like,
yeah,
there's not one way to do things. Some people really capture that moment that they're in. It's just like, hey, this is the Beatles moment, or this is Nirvana's moment, this is the Beastie Boys moment. And I can see that. It just never really worked that way for us. We just exist like outside of time. The closest we ever got was during that kind of pop punk era, making music that was sort of similar to that. But we would always shoot ourselves in the foot one way or the other by having nudity or having profanity or just not being cute enough, whatever it was that made it so we didn't get completely embraced by any one scene. And we started out in garage rock, and still we never really got accepted or understood by that scene. And then, when we were playing hardcore, we were in the epicenter of like the grunge movement. So
yeah.
it was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you playing this for these people? And why are you doing this? And it was, there's really no explanation for it. We're very much a wrong place at the wrong time kind of band.
Or maybe just the right place at the right fucking time. Bringing it into the present, mate.
Yeah,
Jenkem
yeah.
feels like it taps right back into the old school energy as well. After everything that's been, tell me a little bit about this album and making this one and bringing it out, dude.
Yeah, I mean, so the last, basically like the Dwarves kind of had these different periods, but really for the last 25 years or so, have been in this extended period of just genre hopping.
It's good.
Like a lot of times bands have their little evolution, which is like, well, we used to be a punk band, but now we play this, and it's mellower or whatever. And with the Dwarves, we would always kind of evolve and devolve at the same time. And it would culminate in these sometimes really complex records that were very very different batches of songs. Dwarves Must Die was very like that. And the last one we did in 2023, which was a concept album, was very much like that. It was like it would go from like really nice pop punk with a female vocal and a thing to like noise that was just unlistenable. And then it would go to like, thrash and real speed metal and then to like more mid-tempo rock. I mean, it was just sort of every different genre thrown in there. And so, and that record had a lot of songs, and it even had a follow-up spin-off called Keep It Real
Yeah.
that had some material from that, but had other different stuff. There were so many different genres and all that when it came time to do this one, it was just like, let's just knock out a punk record. Let's just do it. And then, so that was kind of the vibe of it. And that's mostly how it went, except right in the middle of it, I was like, I wrote this kind of mid-tempo 80s rock kind of hit song. And I was like, fuck, this will really freak them out. Let's make
Yeah.
this hostile, so that's damned if I do. And we made this video for it. It's very kind of Hollywood with
Um,
chicks and big
watch that.
production value. So, it was like, yeah, it was just always, there's always some weird thumb in your eye with the Dwarves that doesn't make sense. And where it's like, what are you doing? Like, so yeah, Jenkem was pretty like gut level, straightforward punk rock, like for old kind of fans that are into the Dwarves. But then, yeah, right, the hit is very like kind of, 80s, 90s rock kind of thing, so
Yeah,
it's strange.
yeah, it's got a fucking amazing sound, man. It doesn't fuck around either. It's straight to the point. It's short, fast, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean, without
Mm.
overthinking everything. There's still something really powerful about just putting in a punk album like this and just rocking the fuck out, not overthinking it, getting to the point and kind of getting
Yeah.
through it.
And we still play that way in the studio. We just go
Yeah.
in and everybody plays together as opposed to, a lot of bands are phoning it, literally phoning it in or doing it over Zoom. One guy records at his house and another guy records at
Yeah.
his house. And again, there's no one way to do things. You can make a cool record that way. But I think if you're trying to make a rock and roll record and a punk record, you kind of got to be there with your guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got a great team of guys working with you as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Dwarves always had a big sort of lineup.
Yeah.
And so I can call on a lot of different people to come in and play and different people to write songs. I mean, that's another cool thing about it is that Dwarves was always lots of different songwriters,
Yeah.
so you don't get one kind of boring record, like everybody wrote stuff.
Hence, we're talking like the last 25 years, where it's like so much variety and difference in the songs you're bringing out because you're working with all these
Yeah.
great songwriters and that as well. It's always felt like less like a traditional fixed lineup and more like this uh, dangerous traveling organism built around the songs, the attitude, and whoever is best part of the
Yeah.
chaos at the moment. How do you view the
Yeah.
band? Like, yeah.
We're the Wu Tang Clan of punk.
The Wu Tang Clan of fucking punk. It actually fits really well. You did produce this album as well again. And who did I see? Andy Carpenter. He done the mixing, didn't he? Recorded a mix by
Yeah,
Andy.
and he really produces with me, especially we do a lot of stuff together for my solo thing, which is Ralph Champagne, and it's Andy. I've just come to rely on him a lot. He's
Yeah.
just got an amazing ear, and he too writes songs. Once he made enough Dwarves records, he's like, oh, I'll write a Dwarves song. Which is great. Everybody kind of gets in on the act, and yeah, he's been. I've been working with him for 15 years now. We're making a hip hop record now with Z-Man and Mickey Avalon called the Big Dick Hustlers.
Fuck
So,
yeah, dude.
we just like to get into all different genres. With Ralph Champagne, I'm making Christmas songs and lounge songs and country songs. And then with Big Dick Hustlers, it's like the nastiest kind of gangster rap, and it's just every genre all the time. That's just kind of what I'm into.
Yeah, I love it. I got a friend who's pretty hardcore and he's got a punk band over. He does the same thing, man. He's doing stuff all over the place, just creating. It kind of keeps you going as a musician, as an artist, to be able to jump into all these different genres and not kind of get fucking pretentious about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you keep doing the same thing,
Get
you
fucking style.
fossilize.
Yes, dude. Yeah, and we got to keep fucking us old cunts got to keep going. That's for sure. The live reputation of Dwarves is almost its own character at this point. The shows have always had that feeling that anything could happen. I've loved watching these live performances the last week or so over on YouTube as well. And I'm spewing. I missed you guys in 2024 with the Me First and the Gimme Gimmes when you come over. I went and
Oh
watched that
yeah,
promo video, dude. Cool as fuck, man.
me and Spike. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we've played Australia probably half a dozen
yeah.
times, and I always just have such a great time there. The people there are so wonderful, and it's just a great place, and the crowds are great, and people love rock and roll and I mean last time we were there and fuck I'm so terrible with names, but there was such a cool great guy and I'm spacing on his name and his record store, but he had me play acoustic at this record store outside of Sydney. And he was just such a great guy and so nice to us. And he made a special skateboard,
Oh,
and
nice.
and all these record stores just kind of helped us out, had me do little acoustic shows, and there's just a spirit to Australia that is very special. It reminds me of America before everybody got scared of everybody else.
For
It
all the
was like,
bullshit, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was just like the America I kind of grew up in, when people had some nuts and had some fun and enjoyed themselves, and it was kind of there's just a great feeling in Australia. I hadn't been there for years. We used to go there pretty frequently, and then probably been 8 to 10 years since I'd been there, and it just felt great going back.
Yeah, yeah, it's a pretty chill place. I did go over to the US a couple of years ago and do notice the differences as well. I was really glad to be home. America was good to
Yeah.
holiday. It's good to be back in Australia as well.
People are at each other's throats in America now more than ever,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of division, a lot of hatred that
Too much
is
politics,
hard
can't
to
we mention?
explain.
Too much bullshit politics. Cunts just need to chuck on a Dwarves album and just rock the fuck out.
Yeah,
And, we're all
yeah,
one fucking human as well, not overthink the bullshit as well that goes
yeah.
with it. Um, Tell me a little bit about what's next. You got some more clips. I do notice you have some animation videos I've seen on one of your posts there coming out. The 7 inches look fucking amazing, dude. I love
Yeah.
vinyl. I have my
Bunch of cool
fucking
seven
box.
inches from the JENKEM album are coming out, and we're just going to tour our asses off. We're going to Europe, we're going to
Awesome,
play, we're
man.
going to go all over the US, and we're just going to have some fun. You know,
Yeah.
uh, uh, at this point, we've got so many albums, we don't really have to make another one, but we do it when we got a bunch of great songs and it's fun. So that's always the plan. And then, that Ralph Champagne record's coming out for Christmas, has some fun Christmas stuff on it. And yeah, Big Dick Hustlers, maybe we'll make it to Australia someday. We'll see.
Damn straight, man. That'd be cool. You're always welcome down under. You guys know that. The tour run around this album does look insane. I do want to touch on that as well. Screeching Weasel, I Hate God, The Exploited, Total Chaos, and
Yeah.
a stack of festival appearances. That really does say a lot about kind of what we talk about. How many worlds Dwarves still fit in? How do you look at that spread of audience and shows as well? What
Yeah, I
Europe?
know. And it's funny because like rock and roll gets kind of mired down in pecking order bullshit and agents and managers and different stuff. And the fun part is always just coming back to the fans, and the fans are all at different places. Screech and Weasel very pop punk, and the Exploited is like street, original stuff, and then we'll go to France and play the Hellfest. It's a bunch of thrash bands, and then punk rock Raduno in Italy. It's like garage bands.
Yeah.
So I love traversing all those different worlds and being able to have the dwarves touch them and then and move on.
Yeah, it must be good, like considering back to when we were talking back at the start right now to where you're able to like just like yeah, you didn't get those big mainstream success, but you've influenced so many people and you've connected with so many fans across the world and bands. You've influenced so many bands. You've been one of those bands that have influenced other bands just through what you guys do and standing the course.
Yeah, I mean, having an impact on other bands is always interesting, and I think the big way is just by showing them freedom.
Yep.
It's like we were never the biggest band, and so you don't influence like millions of people that are all checking out your stuff, but you kind of put it out in the ether. Bands would always play with us and just be like, "Wow, you guys really don't give a fuck, do you?" And you guys really just play what you want and do what you want. Wow, or people would listen to the record and be like, "Wow, you guys like aren't afraid of pissing off your fans or alienating people or." Well, it's like, yeah, we just kind of give you a blueprint for freedom. And if you're smart enough to pick it up, then you pick it up.
Yeah, at this point, the fans aren't fucking going nowhere if they're still hanging around. That's for fucking sure, mate. The music is
Yeah, that's it.
absolutely
That's
it,
it.
It's really great to see because a lot of bands do soften their edges of their story and what they're fucking their music as well. And it's a good thing the Dwarves have never done that after all these years, all the scene,
Yeah.
all the industry changes, all the chaos. What still feels punk for you in 2026, mate?
Man, I still think that it's all revolves around sex and drugs and violence and the basic human things.
Yeah,
All art really touches back to that. It's the human element. And now more than ever with AI making music, simulated music and all this, you really can see what artists are like. They might as well be AI because they're just like a simulation of something. The Dwarves still feels real. But hopefully punk rock doesn't have a future because I think young people have to find something new. They have to go somewhere else to find what it is that's out there. I think rock and roll had its time, punk had its time, hip hop had its time, and now we need something else. But it's not going to be the old folks that give it to you. It's going to be somebody coming up with something that I haven't even conceived of. So that's what I'm looking forward to hearing.
damn straight, Blag. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, mate. It's been killer getting to talk about JENKEM, the chaos, the hooks, the history, the mythology, and everything that still makes Dwarf such a unique force in punk and rock. Everybody, JENKEM is out June 5th. Grab this motherfucker. Make sure you grab the physicals as well. The artwork on it is amazing. Real art. Make sure you check that out. Grab the record, watch the videos, and keep out an eye out on the Dwarves because they are playing USA and Europe. Hopefully, get you guys back down under very soon. Always leave last
Absolutely.
words and shout outs. Thank yous to the guest, mate.
Cheers, bud. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for talking to us. Dwarves will never let you down. Jenkum's the record. Damned if I do's the single. Rock that shit.